So we are
Okay.
doing Act 2, Scene 6. We are seeing Juliet and Romeo meet at Friar Lawrence's cell. They are about to get married. So there are three characters, three of you. Who would like to be Friar Lawrence?
I'll be Friar Lawrence. Why not?
Yeah, I'm for sure Romeo.
For sure, Romeo. And Annette can be Juliet.
Yep, I'll be the Juliet understudy.
Can I
Awesome.
request that you do your best impression of Murat doing Juliet? I feel like we'll lose a certain je ne sais quoi if Juliet's not speaking in falsetto.
It won't be very good. It won't be a very good impression, but I'll do it.
Awesome.
do it for
Annette
you.
playing Murat, playing Juliet.
Yeah, there we go.
Wonderful. Okay, so we are at Friar Lawrence's cell. Enter Friar Lawrence and Romeo.
So smile the heavens upon this holy act that after hours with sorrow chide us not.
Amen. Amen. But come what sorrow can, it cannot countervail the exchange of joy that one short minute gives me in her sight. Do thou but close our hands with holy words, then love devouring death, do what he dare. It is enough I may but call her mine.
These violent delights have violent ends, and in their triumph die like fire and powder, which, as they kiss, consume. The sweetest honey is loathsome in his own deliciousness, and in the taste confounds the appetite. Therefore love moderately. Long love doth so. Too swift arrives as tardy as too slow.
Enter Juliet.
Here comes the lady. Oh, so light of foot will ne'er wear out the everlasting flint. A lover may bestride the gossamers that idles in the wanton summer air, and yet not fall, so light is vanity.
Good even to my ghostly confessor.
Romeo shall thank thee, daughter, for us both.
As much to him, else is his thanks too much.
Juliet, if the measure of thy joy be heaps like mine, and that thy skill be more to blazon it, then sweeten with thy breath this neighbor air, and let rich music's tongue unfold the imagined happiness that both receive in either by this dear encounter.
Conceit more rich in matter than in words, brags of his substance, not of ornament. They are but beggars that can count their worth, but my true love is grown to such excess I cannot sum up some half of my wealth.
Come with me and we will make short work, for, by your leaves, you shall not stay alone till Holy Church incorporate two in one.
They exit. Yay.
Oh my God.
I'm really glad Murat was able to make the record.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Wow. Annette, that was phenomenal. That was the best impression of Murat playing Juliet I can even imagine.
Thank you. Okay,
Almost
so from now
distracted
on, I'm
from-
going to read every character. Brought.
Almost enough to distract from Romeo's constant deciding to foreshadow.
We do start off with Romeo being like, oh gosh, love is so powerful. Let's get this going before the future punishes us with sorrow, and so on. We get Friar Lawrence's very famous line, these violent delights have violent ends. He then goes on to talk about how like really passionate, quick love dies out very quickly, as opposed to like a slow love, like a light of a match dies out really quickly, whereas like a campfire lasts for a long time. It's a bit of a calmer love. It says fire and powder, when they kiss, consume one another. So gunpowder, matches fire, etc. The sweetest honey is loathsome and confounds the appetite. Like honey is delicious, but if you eat too much, you lose your appetite. So basically, love is not enough. You need something beyond this immediate spark of love. But he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna marry you anyway. Whatever.
Yeah, kind of a little late with this sage advice. Like he could have brought this up before.
Juliet comes in. She's walking so lightly that she could walk on spider webs, just like most lovers walk so lightly. Gossamer means spider web. She says, good evening to my ghostly confessor. Ghostly meaning like Holy Ghost confessor. She confesses to him, etc. Then there's some action that's written out. Shakespeare doesn't give us the stage directions very often, but what happens here is that she kisses him hello, as you might kiss someone on the cheek, hello. And then he says, oh, I'm not going to kiss you back. Romeo will kiss you for me. So then Romeo gets to kiss her twice. Lovely. And then Juliet's like, oh, well, I will give him back a kiss because otherwise it's not even. So then she kisses him another time as well. So it's just, sickly sweet. How many kisses can we do? Romeo talks about the measure of his joy, measure in two ways, obviously like measuring something, but also like a music measure. That's why he goes on to say rich music's tongue is unfolding the imagined happiness and so on. And then Juliet is like, I am so happy. Don't even ask me how happy I am because I can't count it. Only beggars can count how much they have because beggars don't have a lot. But I am so rich in love, I could not even count half of what I have. And then they go off and get married. So just lots of, I love you, oh my gosh, how many kisses can we have? I love you, let's go.
As a priest stands awkwardly in the background. I do like his making sure the teenagers know he's not gonna let them be alone in the same dark room until they're married.
Yeah.
It's a powerful vibe.
Not even for a second.
Chaperone.
A holy chaperone.
I also appreciate that. He's like, yeah, we'll make this quick. It was a very quick wedding. One and done.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a whole lot to say about this. I'm sure if Drew was here, he'd have something to say about Shakespeare showing off how good of a writer he is.
He usually does, yeah.
Yeah. We've had Annette playing Murat, playing Juliet. Can somebody play Drew playing being obsessed about Shakespeare?
See, one thing that I think is a bit of a strange element, because the sweetest honey is loathsome in its own deliciousness. That's basically a repetition of Friar Lawrence's earlier ominous parallel when talking about the poison in his garden.
Mm.
The gunpowder thing is kind of just incidental, though. Like, it's violent imagery, but that's not something that comes up, nor does anyone fire a gun in this whole play.
Yeah, it's also not, their love that causes... their love eventually it leads to their death, but like them being in love sans the family drama is not going to lead to death on its own. Is that making sense? Like if two teenagers got married, that's one thing, but these two specific ones...
Well, I guess it's more like the idea of that notion is like that their love fizzles out with that image. But in this case, it's not like they blow up at each other. Their relationship with each other is kind of incidental to all of the bad things that happen to them. So that's a bit of a weird image on Shakespeare's part. I'm channeling the anti-Drew. I'm going to say Shakespeare is unshowing off.
Yeah,
we invented the upside down.
I agree with you in a way. Like, obviously, Friar Lawrence, the character, doesn't know that Romeo and Juliet are going to die tomorrow.
Like Romeo seems to.
Yeah, like Romeo seems to. So he's like, hey, by the way, you might regret this in the years to come, like after you stop being super into each other, which is like a fair thing to say, but it doesn't really go anywhere because they don't really get to that point.
It's also like, why say that now? Like, you're already here.
Yeah. Like, he's already agreed to marry them and let them go through with this. But I guess it's one of those better late than never things where he's warning them this might just be like infatuation if you want to stay together after you do the deed and you're not horny anymore. If you want to maintain a relationship, it's going to take a little more effort than it took to set this up.
Well, I mean, to me, that part is consistent with the previous scene with him. Because in that scene, he's like, oh, there's this plant in my garden. I mean, he's just saying to the audience, right? But if you remember, there's this plant in my garden. A little bit's medicine. A lot is poison. Mm-hmm. And so you get that kind of carry through. The sweetest honey is loathsome in its own deliciousness. Don't eat too much. Love moderately. It's just the gunpowder metaphor to me seems like a bit of an arbitrary throw-in. And it also doesn't rhyme with anything, so it can't be that he was just trying to make the rhyme. I think he just wanted a kiss image, and he's like, like a flint.
Yeah, I think it's just being super dramatic here. Because violent delights having violent ends is quite melodramatic. Like if you enter into a relationship in the fit of passion, it's going to end the same way, like bombastically and badly. I don't think that's always true. And I don't think, like, we have no way of knowing how Romeo and Juliet's relationship would have progressed if they didn't die. But I don't think it would have blown up in a Blue Valentine sort of way.
But yeah, other than that, this really is just two people very loudly discussing how happy they are.
Which brings up the point of how much of this play is just saccharine sweetness, of two kids being cute. And even though we roll our eyes at it, like, ugh, gross, I think that does a lot when we get to the later half of the play where shit hits the fan and people start dying. Like, it does a good job to juxtapose the innocence and sweetness of this young love against the tragedy that later happens. So I think I have more patience for this now, not only knowing how the play ends, but also like being older and being able to forgive myself for being cringy when I was a kid.
I guess that's the thing, right? Because I mean, this is what, being in a romantic relationship feels like when you're 16, of just relentlessly over the top emotions. I do think there's very much an element of almost narcissism of petty differences when you're reading this play in high school and you loathe these teens that are aggressively too in love with one another and then proceed to just way overexpose yourself in your relationships to people around you.
Yeah, because that's the quintessential emotional presentation of a teenager. Like, you're feeling all these big feelings, but you can't let anybody know because being an adult means you have no emotion or don't let your emotions control you. So you do everything you can to make it seem like your emotions aren't a big deal. So
Romeo and Juliet would be sitting on the school staircase, awkwardly nuzzling as people are trying to walk by.
Ooh, yeah, for sure.
Something I often question when I'm looking at romance stories is, why do these two people like each other? And if you look at a story like We Will Take Our Favorite Punching Bag, Twilight, I have no idea. Like, you can look at it, you can watch the movie, read the book. I do not know what those two people see in each other, and I don't think they do either. Now, the same thing is kind of happening here. I don't know what Romeo and Juliet really see in each other, especially since we only get like 15 full minutes of them in the same room before this point. But to take Annette's point, I think that that is okay and works in this story because it's so innocent. It's so early in their relationship, and they're just like, wow, you're cool. I want to hang out with you more. And that feeling, which is so innocent and real and cute and young, results in their deaths. And like, it just should not in like any way, and yet it does. So I think like this is one place where just our whole relationship is built off the fact that I think you're neat actually works.
Yeah, I would go.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would go one step further and say that the witty banter they exchange is part of why they like each other. Like, meeting someone you think is cute and then being able to engage in some wordplay and figure out that they have more or less your same sense of humor is something, even though it's not a whole lot and it is kind of superficial. That goes a long way, as opposed to seeing somebody cute, but then you can't really carry a conversation, right?
Yeah, I mean, we make fun of it, but Romeo is charming.
Yeah.
Like, he does lay it on. Like, he lays it on a bit thick. It's a bit nauseating. But, he's got some good lines in there. And I do think there's a cultural divide also of... Because, like, with the Twilight comparison, it is not clear why they fall in together. Also because they're just two of however many teens at... Washington or Oregon. I don't know. I haven't read Twilight.
It's Washington.
It's Forks.
Yeah, Forks, Washington.
But... in this case, in a cultural context of you are rich people and you are being told that, like your parents are looking for someone for you to marry. It's a thing that is being impressed upon you. When you find someone that you both find attractive and get along with, I think it's going to be much more present in your mind to rush things along.
Yeah, because when you're forced into a situation like that, the ideal situation is that you like whoever you're matched up with. and that's what you want to have happen, but you don't have any control over it.
Yeah.
I can definitely see two young people in that kind of a situation with that kind of pressure really latching on to someone they even like a little bit.
Also, like,
Yeah.
how many other options do they have? Like,
Like the dating
Romeo
pool and the gene pool are kind of shallow.
Yeah, like Romeo was like into Rosalind, and then he's like, just kidding, Rosalind's cousin. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, you're right though in the context of because, and this is also a bit of a divide from Twilight in that regard. Their eligible dating pool is just people of their social class, give or take 5 years. Like it's not like they are awash with marriage partners. I think I think their young romance is more palatable as time goes by.
Yeah, which is funny because I may have expected the opposite. Like the further I get from being a teenager, I thought that I would find this worse and worse. But it does get more sweet. I also see an element of like camp romance, like literal, you go away to summer camp, you have a week, you have a crush on someone, like it gets really intense for a week and then you literally never speak to them again. Anyone else have that experience?
No.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think that means yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think it's like Juliet especially knows that her time before getting married is short. Romeo as well. So it's kind of like, oh gosh, we only have so much time, and like, wow, like you're here, and yes, here I go. Now we're in love, and it just kind of gets rushed. Got a lot of pressure.
Luckily, the Holy Father approves. God gives his thumbs up to them knacking down, and so good on them.
Like they think this is like also gonna save their families from continuing to fight.
Well, Friar Lawrence at least thinks so. I don't know that Romeo and Juliet are. I don't know if either of them have actually mentioned that as something they hope to happen. That's just why Friar Lawrence says he'll do it. I don't think Romeo said anything on that account.
Mostly, Juliet's just been like, "Damn, too bad you're a Montague." Anyway, and then I think that's kind of all that they've discussed of it.
Yeah, they don't seem to care. I think we may have talked about this before in a previous video, but maybe part of Friar Lawrence's plan to get the families to stop feuding is that if these kids are involved with each other when they're younger, then they grow up and get married and get older, then the tension between their families won't be as bad because they have fond memories of each other. They remember liking each other when they were younger. So it might not be that their families will see the error of their ways. It would just be like phasing out the aggression and replacing whatever antagonistic interactions with more pleasant ones. Like maybe he's thinking long term.
Yeah, I guess my assumption was more in like a medieval political marriage kind of way, just in the sense of the Capulets won't attack the Montagues if it means they are taking food out of Juliet's mouth.
Yeah.
Just picture this alternate ending where they don't die, but they like have a relationship, but then like it ends just like so bad, and then it's just like way worse.
And then dead eyes with renewed vigor.
Well, I do think there's probably another element here. I don't think it's a prominent element, but it's something that I'm sure some bored academic in need of a thesis could root around in. Because this was written after the Church of England split, partly on the grounds of permitting divorce. So the Catholic Church at this time, like once they're married, they're pot committed. England came up with a whole second fake church to allow the king to get divorced, like 40 years before this play was written. So I don't know if there's really any meat on them bones, but again, any bored grad students in the comments, feel free to run with that idea. But if you like Hamlet, like and subscribe. It's not on the channel yet, but just as a general call to action.
Comment below and tell us what Shakespeare play you want us to do next. Maybe it's Hamlet, maybe it's not.
You comment if you had a very We're going to talk about everyone's favorite play, Coriolanus.